Guys, Hades and Grease here. So, I'm thinking of doing just a short prelude to probably a topic I might drag another person into. I don't know. Might have a guest star. Who knows? But the topic I want to talk about is social norms. Now, this is going to tie into future videos that I'll be doing, including relationships, religious freedoms, and all that, even though I've touched on religious freedoms before. But what I want to talk about with social norms is this. Our behaviors and our thought process and how we view things is solely based on what is acceptable in society. You, well, let's go with this way. If nowadays people have no real sense of chivalry or respect towards women, you'll find that rare man who just treats a woman as she should be. But most of them, they let their primal nature show a lot. And I'll admit, I'm guilty of that a lot. But I keep most of it at bay. And it's this behavior that, modern day, I would say that it's more natural. Back then it was, women were delicate and needed to be protected. And that's why we were always chivalrous and all that. But as time went on, we began to see women as more equal and they could hold their own, so vulgarities and all of that wasn't that much of a big deal when presenting it in front of a woman. And it's this lax nature that's changed our society's social norms a little bit. But older generations would still look down upon younger people as being overly sexually active, and this mainly goes for females, that if they enjoy sex or are attracted to an older man, and I'm not talking about a few years, I mean 10 to 20 years, that they're a slut, which I personally am a rude person, but even that is just low and ignorant. You're going to judge a person on who they're attracted to. But, and this ties in a bit to religion, saying, well, it's an abomination to love somebody of the same gender. It's that social norm of, well, this is how things are supposed to be. But the thing is about society is it's usually wrong. Just because it's working doesn't mean it's right. You had the Nazi movement, led by Hitler, brought up the military and economic standing of Germany, which was good. It let Germany function. But at the same time, it was persecuting groups of people, much like we do in our society. But we don't do that drastic killing. Though some people are a little radical in their belief systems and will take a life for their belief. But it's this, well, we're not harming anyone's lives. You are. You're stifling who they are and belittling them. You're making them think that they're inferior because they don't meet your standards. And that's not right. I might be an atheist and I might think that the belief in a God, mainly Jehovah or any of the others, is kind of futile and almost childish, possibly even idiotic. But I don't look down on a person for that. I don't persecute them for that. No. I'll joke about the religion, but that's the religion itself. The people in it don't matter to me. They are human beings. It's when they let their faith warp their mind that I begin to slightly look down upon them. But this whole, well, if you think somebody deserves to die or you want somebody to die, that you're a bad person. No. You're feeling an intense emotion, much like love, that is just so compelling, but you still don't act upon it. And it's this idea that you have to fit in or there's something wrong with you. Just because you don't fit into society doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. For all we know, you're perfectly fine. You fit in to a group of people that realizes, hey, and that's not who I am. Society does not reflect my moral values, nor does it support me. And when society doesn't support you, what point is there to support society? You're feeding a beast that wishes to consume who you are and turn you into just another piece of its shit. And we're not clones, so why expect anyone to behave or feel how we feel? I just question the human intelligence when this comes along. I would never call a female a slut. I'll call her a bitch or a cunt when the situation is appropriate and when she's acting like a bitch or a cunt. But it's simple as that. But to call her a slut or a whore just because she's sexually active or dresses a certain way, it's pointless. It's ignorant and it's flat out rude. There's no reason behind it. There's no appropriate situation where you should call a female or a male a slut or a whore. Nor should you call somebody a freak. Or, honestly, any derogatory term that just isn't deemed appropriate. Faggot. I won't say bitch because, let's face it, any male or female can act like a bitch. Faggot, queer, slut, skank, whore, etc. Racial terms should only be used as jokes, never to degrade a race and to make them seem inferior. When all races are equal, they're just susceptible to different diseases and shit. So, there's no superiority or inferiority. We as humans are equal, and we only differ from by thought process, how we feel and how much we feel, and what makes us individuals. We may belong to a group called Homo sapien, but that does not mean we are all the same. We are all capable of different things as individuals, and no group or groups should push their expectations on the individual. I know this, and I speak from personal experience, because I've been called dirty for having multiple sexual partners, and just, it's so trivial. The people I dated simultaneously all meant something to me. I had deep feelings for them, I cared about them, I wanted best for them. And they all knew this, and they all accepted that, and that's why they accepted the fact that I was dating multiple people. But yet, when people that are used to think monogamy and a committed relationship is the social norm, see me, well, I'm dirty, I'm a man whore, I'm just a slut. And that's not the case. And that's not saying that someone who just has casual sex with no feeling behind it is a slut. No. They are just human beings, and they have a higher sexual drive, and they're not afraid to have sex with somebody they find attractive. And hell, honestly, I don't even look down on prostitutes. it's an occupation. They're doing what they need to do to get by. And if it means have sex, well, if it's their choice and they are being safe and they aren't being abused, more power to them. And this could go on to even fetishes. I've dated people who are into necrophilia, bestiality. I think a few of them have been into incest. But, excuse me. I haven't judged them on that. Instead, I accepted them and realized that is who they are. And when that comes in, you don't feel anything about that. It's just, well, whatever, it's your thing. And I just wonder, when did it, well, it's always been okay to single out people and throw them into a certain group that you find to be negative. But really, what is the end point? What is the whole purpose of it? To make you feel superior to another human being? That's just, like I've said, it's ignorant, but it's also vain. You're trying to feed your own ego when, honestly, if you feel the need to feed your ego like that, there's something wrong with you. There is something that you feel you're lacking, that you must degrade and put somebody else down because they're into something else or they behave another way. I say, if they aren't hurting anyone, who gives a shit? And even sadists, as long as they can find a masochist who is willing and wants that, that's between them. Their personal lives are of no consequence to ours. When they start destroying our lives is when we should take a stand. But instead, people want to take a preemptive strike. Homosexuality. Well, it could damage the foundation of marriage. I think heterosexual relationships and marriages have fucked marriage up to begin with. Let's face it, the cheaters, the liars, it doesn't fucking matter. There's no real sanctity of marriage anymore. Honestly, I don't really think there ever was. As long as there was a guy or girl that just got overly horny and said, well, they're not satisfying me, I'll fuck them. And as long as that exists in a human being, there's no real sanctity of anything other than life. And even that, our government has said, well, you as an individual can't kill. But when we tell you to kill a group of people as a group, it is perfectly fine. And you can't tell somebody, well, they started it, so we can kill them. But when you're defending yourself and kill somebody, you risk the chance of prison. Which I see this as the government is no longer protecting us. They're protecting their own interests and their own benefits, and we are just the pawns on a chessboard. And unfortunately, we are the pawns. And the social norm of, well, they've got the power, they've got the muscle, they've got the guns, so we listen to them. And that's not how things worked. Our government is here to serve us. We are not here to serve our government. We are here to establish a government, rule the government, and support the people. Any president who, well, I'm not even going to say any president, anyone in power. This can range from police to the Secretary of State to the president. If they aren't serving the people like they're supposed to be, they have no right to have that power. And if they refuse to give up that power willingly, why should we be peaceful and sit idly by and wait for another thumbsucker to just take over and say, okay, I'm running it my way? The corruption has to be ended. And as has been said before, cut the head off and kill the snake at the head. I feel that as long as we're just taking bit by bit, the social norm won't really change. Sometimes you have to have a radical movement to make any progress. And, yeah, what else can I say? Our society is flawed, and people are too afraid to change it, or have been so rooted in this mindset that they won't change, and they don't want to change it, which I find quite sad, honestly. I'd like to see this world, I'd like to see first this country change to something better, towards more accepting of everyone and everyone in it, but I'm starting to question, is there really any hope? But, yeah, it's just a pain, really. Living in a society where you're looked at as a freak, you have to change who you are and how you look to get a job, get a date, attend a school. And it's just, where's our individuality now? We're just another faceless entity drifting along. And what I found is a river of despair. And we'll sink down eventually and die. We live to die, and we live to serve. And when that's the case, where's your hope? Where's your purpose? And with that, I will leave you to your thoughts. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Everyone, take care, and actually, there's no fuck off to this one. This is truly take care and try to do something with this world and make it a better place for everyone. Because honestly, only one world, and unfortunately I don't want my descendants to grow up in a world where they're hated because they're not like everyone else. And I'm sure you people are like that. So, may Darwin, God, Buddha, Islam, whatever, let it all be with you, and have a good night and day. Peace out.